What's up, Thailand? I am Yan.
I'm Bow. We are back.
The last episode of this mini-series is about foreigners in Thailand.
Yeah, so it's about you, Yan.
Among many others.
Among many others. And
Right.
it seems like Thailand is a popular destination, maybe because it's quite relaxed.
Right.
But I've heard that when foreigners come to live in Thailand, actually it's not as relaxed as they think, especially in terms of the regulation and how you are treated differently as a foreigner. Can you elaborate on that?
Okay, so first and foremost, I've been here for 15 years and I am still here. I don't know for the long-term future, but right now I don't have any short-term plan to get out. So it means that overall I'm good here for now, because I would be stupid if I was bad here to stay here, right?
After this mini-series, I'm not sure about your future here, Yan.
We shall see. Well, if they
Okay.
kick me out, they kick me out. Yeah, one thing, I mean, I'm just not the kind of person who shuts up, and it may be bad for me, but that's
Obviously.
just in my genes. So yeah, but who am I talking to anyway? Right?
Okay, so how's life in Thailand?
When you come from Europe, you would say it's easy and convenient. When you have the financial means to live it well,
Yeah.
because everything's open all the time, because the weather is nicer than in Europe, at least you don't have the winters.
Food is cheap and delicious.
Right. Well, it's no longer the case now, but I must admit when I came in and I was a younger man, I had much more success with the ladies than I ever had in Europe.
Yeah, and nowadays it changed.
Well, it's also that, I'm no longer as
Rich
hungry
as you were. Oh, okay.
for that as I was. Does that too. But and indeed I grew older, which doesn't help. But
Good for you. Just a little bit talking about the price of the food. Hi, motorcycle.
Yeah, we
Price
had a
of the
very
food.
noisy one there.
Yes,
Price of the
when I
food, yeah.
mentioned that
Yeah.
Thai food,
Yeah.
the food here are cheaper.
yeah,
Actually, last 2 months I've been to France,
yeah.
and yeah, the food there is not as expensive as I thought. So maybe
That's
because
an
of
interesting
the
point.
value of the exchange rate also, but also the food here, the price is quite comparable. That
Yeah.
means we have higher expense of living.
Yeah. I mean, I've been here since 2003, and back then, basically, you had €1 for 50 baht, and what you could buy with 50 baht was big, because one plate in street food was 20 baht, and
And kway tiao, the noodle
yeah.
is 20 baht.
yeah, right. Our coconut in the street was 10 baht. And coming from Europe, even with your minimal salary in France, for example, you could come here and live like I was about to say like a prince, but let's rather not say that.
Like a rich guy.
Yeah, live like a richer person anyway. And that was indeed a point that attracted many. And this point has pretty much disappeared now. Indeed, the value of the baht is higher, so you get fewer bahts for your euro. And the prices have been up exceedingly to the point where indeed, each time I go back to Europe, I start noticing basic commodities that are actually cheaper in Europe than here. Fruits, and however the European salaries are higher than here, therefore people here must be having a hard time. And for foreigners to come here and have a good life, now you need to really have some money. It's not like back in the days.
True.
Yeah,
and that's for the general living and lifestyle. How the government treat you?
Before I answer that, I would also like to mention, back in the days, I opened a business, and during 15 years, I was running an IT outsourcing business and a game development studio. And what I did back then, it worked because of the difference of cost between here and there. Doing the same now wouldn't work.
I see. So you have to adjust a lot.
Yeah, right. I mean, the business model or lack thereof, actually, because I was not really a trained business guy before that I had. I could make it work just because here was very cheap.
I see.
Yeah, and now it's no longer the case.
Then, from the Thai point of view, in order for us to attract the investment or the foreigners coming here, we will have to do something with our baht value.
The bad value is one thing, and indeed something could and probably should be done about that. I think anyway, the standards of living in the country go up, and therefore the cost goes up, and that was to be expected in a way, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. You don't want there to be people paid 5,000 baht a month like there was 30 years ago forever, right? It's normal that people can access a higher standard of living, and that is translated in higher cost of operation. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but of course, in order to make up for that, the country must go up in the value chain, which very strongly means a better education system, and that's where
new
indeed,
way of doing business, to be more innovative and have your own invention.
And that's where indeed both the culture and the quality of education can improve further.
Yes. Anything else? Is there anything else that discourage foreigners to come and work or live here? Because I think that they take a big part of our economic fraction. If we lose them all, then we'll have a worse economy.
If you make long-term plans and you want to stay here, then indeed there are more obstacles. In a way, it's very different from the West, because in the West, the obstacles come first, but once they are removed for good. Typically, one thing that I am glad there is not here, and the West should take example on Thailand for that, is hatred or dismay of foreigners in the political debate. I mean, in the West, as you could see in America, Trump won the campaign on the promise of building a wall to keep those filthy Mexicans away. In Europe, the hard-right parties are growing stronger, selling the idea of keeping those filthy Africans or Middle Eastern persons away. This is not healthy. This is not a healthy thing to do. This cannot end well. And I am glad that in Thailand, there is no political gain from anybody yet to be had by saying, hey, kick those filthy foreigners out. So in that sense, they do it
in a more subtle way.
In that sense, I am happy about that. The thing though is that in the West, they build all those barricades against you entering, but once you are accepted, you are fully local. You can,
and you are treated equally.
You can easily get citizenship. You can access the welfare. You can buy a land. Everything is open to you. Whereas here, they accept you quite easily at first, but then the barriers that are next are impossible to overcome. I mean, I will never be able to buy land here.
It sounds as if they only want you as tourists and nothing more. Not even, when you get married to a Thai, you're not entitled to anything, and basically you can. And
furthermore, if you're married to a Thai person, it deprives the Thai person from some rights. I remember a case where the mother of my kids was willing to buy a land for herself with her money, which she bought eventually in some province. And when she went at the land department, seeing that the father of her kids was a foreigner, they didn't want to register the land title deed on the basis that I would have to be here and to sign a document certifying that I did not help monetarily with the purchase. So I had to go there for one day with her to sign that document.
This happens when you don't have.
And it means if I was an asshole and I wanted to make her life difficult, I would have withheld my signature and she could never have purchased the land. which is ridiculous.
So that's one thing. I've heard of another newly implemented law. The law may exist before, I don't know, but it's now when you stay in, for example, in Bangkok, you want to spend a night in Pattaya, you will have to report to the authority. How does that work?
Right. That's the TM30 debacle. Basically, there is this law that dates from 1979, if I remember correctly, in another era where most of the foreigners were actually refugees from neighboring countries fleeing the war. So the law stated that if a foreigner must have a registered address in which they must stay at night at all times, and if a foreigner goes for more than 24 hours to another province, they must register to the immigration on arrival and then back again to the immigration when they come back to their place. And when you go to a hotel, basically the immigration registration is done by the hotel, so you don't have to worry. But it means when you go back to your place, if you want to follow the law, you would have to go to the immigration and submit a request to indicate that you are living at your place again after having spent one night in the hotel.
What if you want to travel through to the whole Thailand, like
then 1 day
20
out of
provinces?
1 day out of 2, you will spend your time waiting at the immigration.
Oh my God.
So
That's ridiculous.
there is supposed to be an online application to make
I've heard that's problem with that.
to make reporting possible online, but it's not working. From what I've heard, I must confess I did not even try, but it's not working, and I did not even try because that's the point. What's the downside of not doing it? What's the downside of telling the authorities, well,
they will not know, right?
Your requirements are just impossible, and screw that. I mean, basically, I'm not hiding from the authorities. I have given them my registered address, and when I posted the clip that they didn't like, they knew where to find me. So I'm not hiding, but I'm just not doing the administrative hassle because all in all, I just risk a fine, and that's fine. Go ahead and find me.
Now you have the evidence, and so come tomorrow and find him.
Yeah, we shall see. Yeah.
Oh dear, okay.
No, the thing though is when you want to renew the visa, if you haven't done the process properly, then you must correct your situation and get a fine indeed, which I may have to face that situation later on. We shall see.
Okay, so what to do with this problem? Do you report to your embassy? I mean, not only you, but people who are affected by this should talk to their embassy.
Yeah, there have been activism by some foreigners about it, and also the Joint Foreign Chamber of Commerce has made a point to the authorities that this would need revision because it's impractical.
And all the ambassadors should talk to our Minister of Foreign Affairs, who's not very friendly to them lately.
I don't know if that happened, but indeed that's what should happen. I think eventually a common sense solution will be found because it's just impossible for everybody. I'm sure even the immigration personnel, they must hate it because it creates for them an overload of work, dealing with more transactions than they are equipped to deal with. So the question that I wonder is, I mean, this thing was enshrined in a 1979 law and never enforced. Why now? Of course, this question has been asked, and the authorities were just saying, "Oh, this is to ensure the safety of the country, blah blah blah." But I mean, really, why now? Why? I think we will never know if just some big guy took the piss about something, or if it's just a result of some infighting within the powers that be.
So this only took place this year?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I received a visit from a guy who left me with a TM30 leaflet to explain the thing at home, and that was at the same time.
They're going to knock every door.
I don't know, but I did receive the visit. That was at the same time I had my
special
clip.
Yes, and actually many Thais who watch this clip may just wonder, so what? So what? The foreigner's life is difficult here, so what? Why should we care? So I would just like to make a brief point about this. You know, the whole world is getting to the concept of this global citizen.
Yeah, well, not yet there, unfortunately, but we ought to.
We are not yet there, but to respect the diversity, to welcome different culture, to be able to mobilize, work and travel somewhere else apart from your own nation. It make the whole world connected, and we can share a lot by that. And that is the thing that should be encouraged. And that's why the country like France, you get a lot of refugee. Many of them will add value to your country. Some of them will create problems. But if we look at it as like we are all global citizens, we'll fix those problems together. So when we are capable of improving the situation in somewhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And we do, and then other people will do the same when we have problem, and this is how the world should be.
Yeah.
And that's why we should treat people with respect and solve problem even when it's a problem for foreigners, because at the end of the day we should not look at each other as foreigners anymore, but the peer as global citizen.
That's beautifully said, and I want to elaborate on that by saying that the struggles that mankind will face in the upcoming decades will be global struggles anyway, and very severe ones at that, because there is climate change that will create harsher living conditions, because there is overpopulation in the world, and this must be quelled. People must be taught to make fewer children, and all of these are global issues. Pollution that is generated in the equator will affect the North Pole, and overpopulation in one country will have consequences in another country, whether we want it or not. It's not Trump's rule that will change that. And to say, I am a citizen of this country, I only care of what happens in this country, and because you're not a citizen of this country, you shouldn't have a voice, and what you think doesn't matter. I mean, mankind will basically, and I'm not overstating this, not survive in the upcoming decades if we keep thinking like that. We have to have a global way of looking at things and of governing what happens with mankind. Okay, so I have no more battery, so I am switching to this phone camera just to say the final words. This ends the mini-series that we were doing. I really had a lot of enjoyment doing that, so thank you very much.
Thank
and
you
I'm
too.
very honored that you did that with me. Thanks guys for listening to us, if anybody did actually. And if this gets traction, and if this turns out interesting, then we might do more later.
Okay, let us know what you think and keep the conversation going.
Right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.